So today, for me, the alum panel is always the most exciting, which isn't to say we didn't have wonderful speakers and great information from everyone. This is the part that brings out Professor Mom and me more than any other part of the day. I think other than Jenna Mucci, I taught every student here, but Jenna, you and I have a lot of friends in common, so I know a lot about you and your quality, and I know that. So please join me in welcoming 10 alum from Lasell College from, I think, the class of 2012 up to 2017. 3 of them were graphic design students, 7 were comm students, and as you know, we're going to start working way more together in the years to come, and that's very exciting, I think. So what I'd like to do is ask each of you to take the microphone. We can pass mine down in the beginning. If you would just stand up, say your name, tell us what year you graduated, and what you do for work now in one kind of tight sentence. And then I have 4 questions, and we're going to popcorn style when you feel like you have something to contribute. So let's start with introductions. Zach Gregg.
All right, I'm Zach, as you just said. Work at DraftKings, social community manager, which is a fancy way of saying I think in 280 characters and post memes and articles on it. Manage the social media accounts for DraftKings, and then also cover events, whether it's games on Sunday, football, or also our live championship events, whether it's Miami, Toronto, or Los Angeles, will be in 2 weeks.
Class of 2014.
My name is Ashley. I'm class of 2011, and currently I work for iHeartMedia Boston and Jammer 94.5. I locally produce the Breakfast Club every morning, and then I also help out with programming and all the music that you hear on the radio on a daily basis.
I'm Ryan, class of 2017, last year. I'm a reporter for the Cape Cod newspaper. It's a weekly newspaper. I live on the Cape. Figure it out.
My name is Brianna Buffold. I graduated in 2012, and I work in pediatrics at Massachusetts General Hospital as a project manager, and that means I take the medical language and I interview for the rest of us.
Hi, I'm Lindsay. I graduated in 2015. I'm the Assistant Director of Enrollment Systems at Regis College, so right down the street. My daily life is everything, so one sentence is a little tough, but I do a lot of strategic enrollment decisions every single day, so kind of keeping the ball moving in the enrollment department.
I'm Patrick Leung. I graduated in 2014, so I'm an associate motion graphics designer at ESPN, so essentially what I do is some of the day-to-day show graphics for, I work on SportsCenter, First Take, Mike and Mike, E60, and eventually some of the other stuff like NFL.
Hi, my name is Katrina Joki. I graduated class of 2014, and I work at a company called Boston International and sells like giftware and a lot of really pretty napkins. So my position there is a graphic designer, so I work on catalog production, and I photograph the hard goods, and I design napkins. And I do social media in like the 5 minutes I have at the end of the day.
Hello, my name is Asia Stupart, class of 2017. I am a social media marketing coordinator for the Massachusetts Education Loan Financing Authority.
Hi, my name is Jilliana Slivey. I graduated in 2016. I work at Video Link right down the street from West Newton as a production associate. I make a lot of live TV happen.
Hi, I'm Jenna Mucci. I graduated in 2016, and I work for TJX as a graphic designer for Home Goods and HomeSense. So I do in-store signage, emails, and social media for them.
Thank you. So we're going to go for about 30 minutes, a little bit more, and then open it up for questions. And there's a late reception being served around 20 minutes of 6, so you should feel free to get up and quickly get something when the food arrives. So, and again, you don't all have to answer every question, but if you have something to add that you think is important, we certainly would like to hear from you. So the first question is, what advice would you give to current students today about how to get the most out of college, and also Lasell College specifically? Just popcorn and pass the microphone as you're ready to speak.
So I was really involved on campus. I tried to get involved with everything I could. And that meant freshman year signing up for like 50 clubs and then having to drop it down to like 4. But just trying out everything and then seeing what works for you and what doesn't, and trying to stay as active as you can. And I got jobs on campus, which led me to meet different people and professors and future colleagues and things like that, and going on surface learning trips and just getting as connected as possible. And all of these experiences really helped me with my job. I know for a fact, working on Polish Magazine, seeing those at my job interview, they were so impressed. And they're like, well, this girl knows how to put a catalog together, so she can get this job. And I did a photography club while I was here, so they were like, great, she can also shoot our products. Perfect.
Wonderful. Thank you. Keep going. How to get the most out of Lasell?
Kind of piggybacking, it's a tough day for talking, what Katrina said. Don't be afraid to raise your hand and get involved in something that you may not really have an interest in right now. I had a random event minor. No shame to anybody who loves events, but I do not. It was not my cup of tea. I really didn't enjoy it. I don't know why I continued it, but actually I'm really glad that I did, because now in my job, I'm able to utilize those skills. And it became really valuable to have someone actually in my office be able to raise their hand and say, hey, I know how to do that. I think that was really valued by my employer. So even if there's something that you think, oh, maybe this isn't going to be useful to me because I know exactly what I want to do, that might shift. And actually the skills you learn from something that you put yourself into here may really turn out to be something great for you. So really don't be afraid to try something new.
I think I would also agree with joining clubs and organizations on campus. During my freshman year, I actually joined Lasell College Radio, which is the field that I'm in now, so it was extremely helpful. But it also got me to be friends with people that I probably wouldn't have been friends with otherwise, or wouldn't have necessarily interacted with otherwise. So I think just really joining clubs, organizations, it's helpful for resume building. So I think that's also something to think about.
I would just agree with everything everyone said, but just to add to it, I think it's never too early or too late to get involved. Whether you step on campus as a freshman and you want to get involved in different clubs and whatnot, or you're going to be a senior next year, don't hesitate at any time or whether you're a sophomore or junior, at any year, I think, step forward and kind of get involved with whatever you want.
Definitely utilize. Sure. Okay. Definitely utilize the internship program here too. I just kind of spoke about this morning, but whatever internship you can get that's through your classes here, you can get multiple. Definitely do that as well. But also take the information you take from there and any part-time jobs you get outside and bring it back into the classroom as well. Bring it back to your professors because they're going to want to know what you're learning out there too. And goes both ways.
And to kind of wrap up and what everyone else has been saying, one of the big things is because we're such a small school, we have small classes, take advantage of the other people in your classes, take different classes of variety and have an open mind, and some of the best ideas you get don't come from people in your field, they come from people with different perspectives. They help give you an outsider's look into how it can solve a particular problem, especially in design. When you get so narrow on how to do something technically, you might get a perspective from someone who's not in your field, and that can break the game open.
So from the journalism professor, a follow-up question. What do you wish that you knew then? In other words, when you were a first-year student at Lasell, what do you wish you knew then that you know now? to any of you, or all of you?
I would like to answer this question because if you told me when I was a freshman that I would be working in higher education, I would tell you that you're crazy. Oh my God, sometimes I still wake up and what do I do? But no, in all seriousness, I came to Lasell really passionate about public relations. I really thought that was my end game. That's what I was going to do for the rest of my life. That's what I bored all my professors with for 4 years. They tried to talk me out of it. But that's what I wanted to do, and you know, I really realized after I graduated that, okay, maybe my path isn't right there right now. So I think that's something that I wish I knew back then. You don't have to be set on one career right away for the rest of your life. You can bounce around as much as you want, and that's okay. I think I'm still trying to tell myself that. So if I can tell any of you that, like that's my end goal for today. So,
Someone else?
Yeah, don't spend so much money on Brancos and all that stuff. No, I'm kidding. I think kind of going along with what you were saying, just having perspective and knowing that things are going to change and that things are not going to go the way you think it's going to be. You know, like having jobs in social media, there's like 3 or 4 of us here. And I think I was on this panel 2 years ago, maybe 3, and I don't think there was a single person who said they did social media as like a job, like, oh, I'm a social media manager. And it was more of an add-on to whether it's public relations or journalism. It was more of just like, oh yeah, and social media. Whereas now it's such an in-depth job, it's an in-depth field. It's kind of crazy to think about now, but just know that things are going to change.
So Zach helped segue me to the second question, which is about internships, which you referred to. Those of us who are here know Lasell ranks very high in internship placement and the value of that for later. So I wonder if you could talk about internships that you had while you were at Lasell, the value of those internships, and if there's anyone who had an internship that was a total bust by the time it was over, that's a valuable thing to share too, and it looks like Katrina has something to say on that.
Well, so I did 2 internships. The first one I didn't do for credit because it was over the summer and I didn't want to pay for a summer class. So I just did it for no credit, and it was amazing and wonderful, and I loved it, and it taught me so many things. And then I came back in the fall, and I took an internship through the college to do photography, and it was just like awful. You know, I didn't really learn anything. I was basically just working on this woman's website. I wasn't really learning much about photography. It helped me with web design a little bit. That's not really why I was there. So that eventually I was begging Sarah Burrows if I could please end the internship. And she didn't let me, and I kept going with it. But it did teach me a lot about types of things to look for in a future position, what I should and shouldn't ask on job interviews to make sure that you are going to be comfortable where you're working and you're going to be enjoying your day-to-day life, because you will basically live there if you're a graphic designer.
Pass it down.
So I was actually offered a full-time job through my internship. So one thing that worked well for me was working hard, being willing to show up when I was supposed to, and staying late to get things done that I didn't have to do during the week. Another thing that worked well, transitioning from intern to full-time, was talking to my boss and letting her know that I'm interested in exploring full-time opportunities. And I think as an intern, you have a right to voice that you want to work somewhere as a full-time employee, so don't feel like they won't care if you ask, but be willing to take initiative and go after the job that you want. Because sometimes employees are looking to see if you're asking these kind of questions.
Juliana?
So I interned at UTV down the street, which was a great internship, and a lot of opportunities came from that. After I was done with that internship, they kept asking me back to TD, one of the members' shows, and by doing that, I got great skills in TDing, which I now do at my job. And as far as finding internships, like utilizing everything we have at Lasell here, mock interviews, I know that I'm horrible with interviews, and that is super, super helpful, the fact that they do that, and just having an extra pair of eyes on the resume.
So I had 3 internships while I was here. Oh, sorry. I had 3 internships while I was here, one of which I got from speaking to a guy from Beth Israel, Deacon's Medical Center, who's presenting in my class. And I think that's where the internships, I think that's where the connected learning kind of really solidifies. I think that's where everything that you've learned, you can actually put it into practice, and then you can also take what you've learned in your internship back to school. So I think everything kind of plays on each other really well. Yeah.
I also had 3 internships during my time here. 2 of them I got through connections with professors, so kind of building off of that, like talk to your professors about what you're interested in, and also like, you know, when you put in the work in class, like they'll see it, because it was at the end of the year, and the 2 professors were like, hey, I have this former student who has an opening, and would you want to apply to that? So I was like, sure, why not? And just kind of getting the amount of variety I had, there were 3 different things. One was in like the government, kind of making like infographics for social media. I was there once a week. It literally rained every day I was there. I hated it. I was in like cubicles in like a gray office. It wasn't the environment for me. The second one, I worked for public access TV. It was a very laid back kind of environment, kind of very loose, no rules, and that was a little too loose for me. And then my third one was working in like a small team, working on a lot of kind of graphics for what's it called, for like trade shows and everything like that. And it was doing like animations, and I had thought I was going to be like a print designer my whole life, and I was like, all right, this is actually kind of cool. And it led to my first full-time job. So just kind of when you have the opportunity to take internships, experience like as much as you can, because every job environment is going to be different, and you just got to keep kind of chugging through, figure out like what's good, like Katrina was saying, what's good, what doesn't work for you.
I'll just wrap it up with one last thought. I had 4 internships in college. They were all great experiences, blah, 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 blah. As a current internship supervisor, my biggest advice is don't be afraid to talk to your supervisor about what you're doing. If you want to do something else, that's really appreciated. I know with me, you know, I have a full-time job, but I also manage 2 data analytics interns. Sometimes they show up and I'm like, I forgot you were coming, I really don't even have anything for you to help, I gotta find something quick. So know that your supervisors, they're doing that to help you and they want to help you grow. So you give them feedback and let them know really what you want to learn more about. I guarantee you they'd be more than happy to really work with you and help you out on that aspect.
I think another thing is be willing to apply internships that don't exactly relate to what you want to do after graduation. Because if you only apply to internships in fashion, it's great you are learning fashion, but what other skills do you have that you can apply elsewhere? So an internship may not be the most exciting, it may not sound great, the job description may not be interesting, but think of it as tools you're adding to your toolbox that you can add and build something on later in life.
So one lesson I've learned as a college professor, it's taken me a full 10 years, but never ask a senior what they're going to do for work next year. So I think I've gotten good at keeping that quiet. So the first job creates all sorts of anxiety and tension for students. And having been the mother of college students, I know how easy it is to say, so what are you going to do after you graduate? I wonder what light you could shed on the first job experience. And again, even if it was a horrible first job experience, we can learn from that.
This was really pertinent for me. Your first job is not your only job. I think a lot of people get caught up in that mentality of what you're studying in college is what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life, and that's not necessarily true. My father always told me you're going to bounce between 5 and 11 jobs throughout your lifetime, and that's just something to keep in mind that where you land after college is not where you're going to stay.
Jen.
So I'm actually still in my first job, but my job started as an internship, and luckily I proved myself enough to continue into this full-time position. But I got this job through my connection with Sarah Burrows, who got this email, and every person in my department that has been hired since I've been hired has all been word of mouth. So networking is so important, and making those connections like days like today are super important.
I'm also in my first job. I'm only about 4 months in. And so I graduated last year. I went home for the summer, just worked a retail job over the summer, and kind of spent the summer looking back and connecting with the professors and the internship supervisors that I had, interacted with while I was here. And I agree, the reason that I got an interview with the job I currently have is because I was able to reach out to one person, and then they put me in touch with another person, and put me in touch with another person, and then I was able to make a phone call. And so it's all about connections. And yeah, I mean, I view right now, I'm in my first job, but I don't see it as, this is where I'm going to be forever. I know that, there's steps you have to take. So I would just say, definitely connections are huge.
So I'm at my third job. My first job after college, I actually started it like a few weeks before graduating, because senior year, I had my schedule so that I had 2 or 3 like full days off. So I knew it was really important for me to get a job like immediately after graduation so I could start saving up money. So I just started applying as early as I could. I got offered a position at a screen printing company in Watertown as a graphic designer, so I took it. And then I wasn't really graphic designing. I was doing a lot of data entry and driving from Central Mass to Watertown every day and realizing that if I'm not doing graphic design, is this really worth it? I was working in the programs a little bit for like an hour a day. So then I got another job. They found me on Indeed, which was great. Closer to home. It was still not exactly what I wanted. It wasn't just graphic design. It was a really, really small embroidery shop with 3 employees. So I did graphic design plus customer service plus sales plus purchasing. I did it all. And it was such a small company that I stayed there for about 3 years. And within those 3 years, I was kind of like, okay, I've learned a lot about all these different areas of the workforce. And I think I'm ready to move on and try to get something further in my goals of becoming a graphic designer. And that's when I was able to get the job that I have now a year ago. So, it's always been a process of finding yourself and taking these steps to better yourself as an employee and your skills. And I'm grateful for every single step that I've had, even though they haven't all been exactly what I wanted. They've gotten me to this job that I currently love, even though it's really hard and it's a lot of long hours, but it's a lot of fun, and I really appreciate the work that I'm doing now.
So I am at my first job still, 7 years after interning there. So I'm very lucky to have had the opportunity to intern there and then turn it into a part-time job, which then got turned into a full-time job. So it really wasn't easy, but it is possible. So if that's something, if you landed an internship, if that's somewhere that you'd really like to work, definitely let your higher-ups know that and just keep working. And it is possible. It just took a little time for me, but I've been there since interning 8 years now, and I don't intend to leave anytime soon. So it is possible to find something that you will want to stay at for a long time.
When did you go full time?
3 years ago.
So numbers have come up. I'm still in the first job, and it's been 7 years, or I'm in my third job, and I've been up. And students will often ask me, graduates, I really don't like the job. I've only been there a year. Is it too early to leave? I wonder if you have any insight on when is it appropriate to leave the first job and move on to the second?
So I guess I'll kind of talk about that because I was kind of wanting something too. Because my first job, I got really lucky where my internship became like a full-time offer at graduation. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna take this. And then after about a year and a half, kind of the whole environment and the culture had changed because my boss and the person above me, who were true designers, they left for 2 separate reasons on their own. And then they kind of reshifted the way our team worked, where they kind of eliminated the room for growth, and I no longer had design mentors to kind of look up to. So my skills started to stagnate, and about last year, I kind of came to the realization after a lot of denial that I was no longer growing in the environment, and there wasn't really anywhere for me to grow in the skills I wanted to. And so it kind of embarked on this journey to, look for a job for the first time, and it sucks sometimes. And I've had a lot of friends who I've had to lean on, and a lot of professors who I've leaned on in this past year of talking about, am I good enough to get a new job? Do I have enough skills? And just talking about the reassurances, and you just have to go through a lot of applications, because in the end of it, you're thinking about it, your goal is to get at least one acceptance out of the hundreds of applications, so that's not really a high kind of success rate. But you just gotta kind of stick through it. A lot of the friends that I had were in different fields, like they help build my support system. I've talked to very much about talking about professors who are here now. They kind of help me in these darker times, and you just keep going and going, and eventually you get an offer and then you take it, and then the same cycle might happen where in a couple of years I might find that this isn't the environment for me, but at least I've gone through the experience and I know I have a support system. So if anything, just know that there's light at the end of the tunnel and build that support system.
Yeah, in terms of knowing whether or not to stick it out with your first job or part-time job, I mean, it's not really an easy yes or no answer or this or that. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into every job. Is there room for growth, as you were saying before? Is there room for pay increase? Are you loving what you're doing? Are you being challenged? That's kind of a big thing too, is like, if you're just doing the same work over and over, it seems kind of mundane. I mean, are you really growing yourself? Are you making yourself grow? And I actually kind of see that in some employees at my job now, where they're at entry-level jobs and they're not pushing themselves to better themselves. And the same thing could be said about part-time jobs too. But it's a balance. I mean, like, do you like the people you work with? Can the people you work with, can you stick with them in order to get a full-time job out of it? Can you maybe go up from there? I mean, it's all a different balance, but it's about knowing, like, what's the value of the people you're working with, what's the value of the job, and really, like, how do you value yourself at that job?
I can just add on a little bit to what I was saying earlier, because my last job, I did love it. I loved the people I worked with. It was a really small, tight-knit company. It was almost like a family. The owners were husband and wife. They were almost like parents to me. I was very happy and comfortable there. And when my car broke down, they lent me a car. Like, there was some great perks to working with this small company. But I had to just realize that I wasn't really growing as a designer in the way that I wanted to anymore. So I didn't exactly have this moment of, okay, it's time to move on. I still stayed there, but I just, checked the job sites and saw what was out there. And if I saw something that I thought was worth moving on to, then I pursued that.
I think it's important to establish goals with your boss. So if there are things that you want to do, like learn in design or Photoshop or illustration, make those goals. That way, if you are deciding to leave your job tomorrow, you feel prepared to take on a new job with new responsibilities and new requirements and skills.
So the fourth topic is life after college. And even though it's been a while since I graduated, I have two very clear memories. One was being so sad that my friends weren't all on the hall with me, because you just got so used to having them there. And the other was a fear that I wasn't going to be able to pay my rent and my school loans and all of that, so I got a waitress job so that I didn't have to go home, because that was the alternative. So life after college, everything from the new living arrangements, maybe moving out of your parents' house, how do you pay for everything, how is social life different, anything about life after college from the social perspective.
I would say you should just keep up your hobbies, because it's definitely not healthy to just go to work and come home every day, which was definitely a hard transition period for me, because there would be times where I'd be like, all right, what do I do now? And I do have a lot of interests, so I've kind of gotten into that, and I think it's really important to keep up your hobbies and your skills outside of work.
Yeah, I don't have much of a social life right now. I still live at home, so I go from home, say bye to mom, kiss her on the cheek, drive 2 hours to Boston, work for 8 hours, drive 2 hours home, kiss mom on the cheek for her to go to bed, and then call it a night pretty much. But actually, just yesterday I got a gym membership because I was getting too bored sitting around doing nothing. So now that if I have to do any chores or anything like that, I can just say, well, I gotta go to the gym. And if she says no, I can just reply with, well, do you want me out of shape or come on? So, I do find time once in a while for social life and all that. I'm trying to stay at home. It's a little difficult just for me. Traveling into the city, I mean, that's just the nature of a lot of jobs, especially communication jobs. all of them are in the city, and if you don't already live in the city, it's a little difficult. I'm getting there, but one step at a time, I guess.
My advice would be, if you want to live somewhere, make it happen no matter what. I moved to Brighton the day after we graduated. I didn't necessarily have a lot of money, but I knew that if I wanted to be having a job there and live there, that I need to do it as soon as I could, because I knew if I started to live at home, I would not want to be away from that. And luckily it worked out for me. I did find a roommate, a random roommate, which didn't work out that well. Worse than random roommates here. But it did work out. Since then I've moved to a different apartment with other random roommates, because it is very hard to live in Boston by yourself. I mean, it's so expensive. So living with someone is a better option. It was for me, and now I live with my boyfriend, so that worked out.
I don't want to freak anyone out, but 6 months after you graduate, your loans start. So as much as I knew that all throughout college, I was just kind of like, I'm going to be in debt no matter what I do. It just is what it is. But I do wish that I had kind of really processed that. And I guess you can pay some of your interest while you're in school, and I think that might have helped me. I'm still paying my loans now. I'm probably going to be paying them for quite a while. My advice is to also look into consolidation. That's something that for a long time I put off. I didn't want to do it. I wanted nothing to do with it. And then I think about a year ago, I finally was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to consolidate. And it's helped me a lot, because now I'm able to put some money away. I was able to buy myself a new car. So they're just one of those things that they're going to be there. You'll pay them off someday, but you have to live too. So.
This is kind of similar. For me, I was very fortunate that my parents lived on a train stop just outside of Boston. My first job was in Boston, so I lived at home for 3 years and helped me save up money. I recently just made the move to Connecticut about 6 months ago, and living on my own for the first time, that's after college. So I had to pay all my bills, gotta figure out rent, all that stuff. So I'm a little late to that game. That some of my other colleagues have kind of already gone through, but just kind of the cushion of the savings that I was able to save up kind of helped me not have to worry about, am I going to be able to come up with the month's the security deposit or the first and last rent. So that's something that's kind of comforting for me too. I've noticed that a lot of us who are fresh out don't have social lives. I don't really have a social life either, partly because my in times for work is 4 a.m. and I get out at 2:30 in the afternoon. So by the time people start to hang out, I'm already in bed. But that's just kind of the shift that I work in. Eventually it changes, but you spend, like Katrina mentioned before, you spend so much time with the people you work with, and eventually you start to become friends with those. So for me, I try to figure out who has the same schedule as me, so we can all hang out at 3 in the afternoon, get dinner, and then we are all in bed by 6 o'clock. But yeah, you just gotta, sometimes you take a situation be a homebody for a little bit, but then don't be afraid, don't get stuck in that mindset, and eventually push yourself to get out of there.
Switching gears just a little bit too, I did want to mention grad school, which is probably on a lot of people's minds. I got really good advice one day to not go to grad school right after you graduate, and I thought you were crazy. I'm sorry. I want to go right away. Yeah. It's all right. I wanted to go right away because I thought that's what you do. I got all this advice saying you should go right away because you won't want to go back and things like that. So I did start going right away. Luckily enough, I can go where I work, which works out really great for me. But I realized that I did want to take a little break. It just felt like too much. So I definitely really agree that you should take a little bit of break because now I've started back up classes. I graduate next year. Thank goodness. And even though it is tough, you're going to school at night most of the time. If you're online, I'm jealous. And you work all day, and that's really tough, and trying to find time for homework and then a social life, which I guess we all don't have. That's really tough too. But I think there's so much value in the fact that I've had professional experience and I can bring that to the table within my classes, and it's a lot easier getting my assignments done and being able to participate in different conversations on that more professional level than I would have just straight out of college.
I did the opposite of you. I did go to graduate school right after here, and I knew that was the better choice for me. I knew if I didn't go right away, I wouldn't go back. I had a really rough time in graduate school, so I'm glad I just got it over with. But I think it's also worth noting that what you're interested in now is going to change as you get older. You know, I know in college, you know, Thursday is a thing, and you like to go out all the time, and I don't care about that anymore. I'm perfectly happy to be home with my family and my cat and my husband, and you know, spend time with my friends and family on the weekends. So it'll change as you get older.
So I want to leave a little time for some questions, but before that, is there something one of you really came prepared you wanted to say that our questions haven't addressed yet? Okay, great. Well, then we're open for questions. Would anyone like to ask our alum some questions? Editor-in-Chief of our newspaper.
So hi, everyone. My name is Sean. So hi, I'm Sean. I'm just wondering, for those of you who've gone through the interview process and whatnot, how did things go, say, with salary negotiations? Did you get what you want? How does that system go going?
I was terrified of interviews. I remember in Professor Duncan's journalism class, I turned down the opportunity to do a mock interview because I was so scared. But I think, I remember telling my sister this when she was looking for her first job. When you go into an interview, do as much research on the company and on the position as you can. You know, see what your skills match up to, and find out as much as you can about who you'll be working with, the company itself, and then come prepared with a list of questions. That will look really good to the person interviewing you. It shows that you've really taken the extra effort to really come prepared.
Asia.
So this is my first job that I'm in, and when I was offered my full-time job with benefits and salary, everything included, the first thing I did was text my mom and said, "Mom, I got offered this amount of money. Is it too much or is it too little?" Because my first thought was thinking, is this too? Am I going to walk away from something that could be great, or am I offering something that's too little? So if you know you're worth X amount, fight for it. You know, because most employers have a minimum that they can offer you, but if you don't ask, they won't give it to you. So be willing to negotiate if you feel like you deserve more.
Asia, you get more brilliant every time I'm in your company.
In my personal experience, I agreed to the internship that I first got, that I'm still working there, and I agreed to the rate that they said. I just was like, yes, you're offering me a job, of course I'll take it. But since then, I've negotiated twice for a raise, which has been really helpful for me. And I knew it was time for it because I just felt like, you know, I'm much more than an intern now. It was once I was hired full-time that I realized I'm almost a year here, and I'm still getting paid as an intern. So I made a list of what I do here and my duties, what other people in my position are getting paid in the surrounding businesses, and my boss was more than happy to raise my pay because I proved to them exactly why. So I think that if you have to know your worth, because someone else is not going to do it for you.
So yeah, I've only had 2 interviews. The second interview was the job that I have now. But I think both of them were a little different. The first one was way more formal. The second one, the job I have now, is a little more laid back. But they called me in for a second interview, and I wasn't really too sure what was going to happen, but they kind of just immediately offered me the job and told me what the pay was, and I was like, whoa, like. And so, not that it was like a lot of money. I was just like not expecting them to just really offer the job right away. So at first I was like, well, I should probably take it, but then I was like, wait, you know, maybe I'll just kind of give it a couple days. So I was like, is it all right if I, you know, get back to you in a couple days? And they said that was fine. So I went home and I kind of talked to my parents and negotiated the salary actually a little bit and was able to get a little bit more. So yeah, I think, you know, when you go in for an interview, you just got to think about like the person that's interviewing you is also a person, and they understand that money is an issue, and so I think if you kind of go into it with a more person-to-person feel, I know it's like an interviewee, but I think if you kind of go into it a little bit more comfortable, it'll work out.
And I think if they're offering you something that's too low for you, see if you can compromise. Like if they're offering you X, say, hey, can I get a free trolley card or a meal plan? Or there are a lot of things that you can ask because they have benefits. So if the money is low, always ask for benefits.
Yeah, I was actually just going to say something along those lines. Like, my cousin always told me, he works in Boston too, and he was telling me about how when he got his job, he negotiated in terms of like paying for whether it's parking or the cost of taking the commuter rail in. Kind of give them a reason why they would need to do it. That way, A, they feel bad, and then B, it actually seems a little more legitimate. Because it can kind of sound like, oh, like this arrogant kid wants more money. Okay, like it kind of sounds like, okay, like, well, he really wants this job, or he or she really wants this job, and okay, well, they need to make ends work, and I understand, okay, fine, we can boost your pay by this much, we can cover this for you, make it seem like that you're worth it, and that they need to help you out, because in the end, it's going to help them out.
So another question from,
So, it's crazy to see you guys up here. Like, I love it, and I want to hug you, and I think that might be okay, now that we're not professor-student, but I have to think about that sometimes, you know what I mean? No, it's just so great to see so many of you. In our last panel we had, or I can't remember which panel, forgive me, but someone talked about failure, and that you should allow yourself to fail, or be okay with failing. And I'm wondering if you've had any professional moments of failure, where you really were able to learn from the experience and it actually made you stronger, better, wiser, and if you could talk about any of those moments, maybe of failure.
I think a failure I've experienced at work is suggesting ideas. Not everyone is going to jump on them right when you want them to, and that's okay. And it may not stick right then and there, but later on, they may bring it up again. So I think the failure can be being okay with if you suggest something and they don't say yes right away, but know that you were heard and you were listened to.
You said professional failures, right? Because they had a lot of personal ones. Yeah, I mean, if you kind of think about the word failure too, it just sounds so strong, has so much weight behind it, that like, it's almost like little screw-ups, I guess you could say. I mean, hell, I guess there's little ways I fail every day at work, but I mean, do I let it get me down? No. Do I learn from it? Yeah, you gotta learn from it and just move on from there. Whether it's, my case, something as small as a typo or something as large as, well, I haven't got there yet, so we'll see. But, no, but just learn from it. I mean, don't bash yourself over the head, don't get down about it, just, life goes on. You keep going and then go from there.
So I work part-time outside of my full-time job as a health coach, and what I tell my people is that there's a concept called fail forward, and that's that's basically taking whatever your failure moment is and just learning from it, not dwelling on it. I took an improv class through some work training last year, which I would have never done. It took me a lot to actually speak in front of people for a long time. But one of the activities we did was we would pair up and we would count to 3. So we would 1, 2, 3, and every time you make a mistake, you would throw your hands in the air and say ta-da! And that's the kind of mentality I took toward failure. It's just, you dust yourself off and say ta-da, and then you move forward. So that's just kind of a nice thing to
1, 2, 3.
Ta-da! Yeah, ta-da!
Sorry, I'll pass. Mine's quick. But I think my biggest thing is we've all identified that we have our little screw-ups every day.
But I think professionally, your bosses and your supervisors, what they'll value more is the way you react to what has happened. I know for me, the best way to kind of react is you just gotta own it, and you gotta say, what are you gonna do further to prevent what sort of whoopsie you did? That's the biggest thing, because moving forward, if you're up for a promotion or a new job or something like that, you know, a lot of the time, if those little screw-ups come up, you know, the big bosses will remember how you reacted to it and how you moved forward from it.
Yeah, so kind of piggybacking off of what Lindsay was just saying and what Zach was saying, how failure sounds like such a heavy word. And for me, like failure, dealing with it is something that I'm currently kind of struggling with and going through. And it's all kind of working about kind of managing the kind of almost expectations of the task at hand. So for me, I'm churning out a bunch of graphics that go live, like maybe like 30 minutes after I made them. And sure, I made spelling mistakes. I put wrong logos on memes, or I put the wrong like athlete to something. And sometimes like the worst thing that happens is, you know, you might get chewed out for 10 minutes, but then like the show must go on, so they just cut to the next part. Or if they can catch the mistake early enough, they just won't show it, and it's not the world. And this with my job too, where I'm making so many graphics, like mistakes are bound to happen, and it's kind of learning to accept that these are just small mistakes, and it's not the end of the world. And you know, you just try to do better next time. And yeah, so it's kind of managing the expectations of the failure. So if it is a small task or a small thing where you made a small typo, and you know, don't beat yourself up about it, that's something that I'm kind of learning to deal with right now.
So we wanted to make sure we left enough time for networking, see whether our students have their business cards ready to pass along to you. But is there one more question from someone in the audience that you really want to ask? Wonderful.
Hi, my name is Erin, and my question actually is about networking. So I have some classmates who like are freshmen and they're starting to network right off the bat, and then other classmates I have, they're like juniors, maybe seniors, and they're just starting to network. So generally, when's like the best time to network, or is there a best time? Does it really matter?
Right now.
Yes, right now.
Yeah, as soon as you can.
All right, so get those business cards out. Asia.
I definitely think networking is important, but if you are going to a networking event, go in there with a mindset and a goal. Do you want to talk to every person in the room? Do you want to give your card to them? Do you want to, like, what's the conversation? It's better to have that established than go in, talk to 10 people, and walk away with nothing in return. So go in with the mindset as to what you want to achieve when you network.
I think, networking it used to be a word that really freaked me out until I learned to think of it differently. I'm very introverted. I'm not good at the off-the-cuff speaking. I prefer very in-depth conversations, and networking always felt very superficial to me. So I looked at it as I'm simply meeting another person, and I'm going to learn about them. So just approaching it, you know, not in a snappy, salesy kind of way, but just you're meeting another person, human to human. You're going to learn about them, and they're going to learn about you.
I think it's never too early to start networking. When I was 16 working at Stop and Shop, I actually met the person who hired me for my internship at JAMA 94.5. He actually came through my line and I said, I want to work with you. And when it was finally time to apply for internships, he remembered me and he hired me for the internship right away. So you never know, when opportunities are going to arise, and, just treat everyone that you meet with respect, because, it's a small world. You could run into them again, and, you want to make sure to have a good, I don't know the word, rapport with them. Yeah, that's it.
It's funny you say that, because I was talking to a student this morning, and they said they worked at a gym in Boston, and like Mike Reese of ESPN Boston and Brian Scalabrine both go to that gym, and he's built friendships with them because he works there and sees them every day. If you have any opportunity like that, I mean, kind of treat it as a networking event. You hear networking, and especially like in the college landscape, it's like, oh, we're gonna come here and wear our suits and ties and go talk to them. All right, like that doesn't happen all the time. I mean, there's conferences, there's different events that happen, say in the city or different locations, but you you will network with people in the strangest of ways. You will find, like, whether it's a grocery store, whether it's a gym, just anywhere, you're going to find people in a very weird environment, and those people are going to be able to get you some of the best jobs and some of the best experiences you have. So that's why when I said, oh, when's the best time to network now? Well, maybe you should think like that all the time, because you never know who you're going to run into.
So I think you can understand now why this is my favorite part of COMDay. You've been terrific, and we are really grateful that you joined us today, but we're not done yet. I'd like to thank the Office of Alumni Affairs. They've sponsored a reception for us. The food is out, and we'd like you to stay and talk individually with our alum panel, with each other, and certainly have some food. Thank you so much for joining us.